You know that feeling when you've been putting off a project for weeks or maybe months, and then you finally sit down to do it, and it takes like 20 minutes?
And then you start thinking, why did I wait so long?
That's what completing your living will is going to feel like after today's episode, because you've already done the hard part.
If you've been following along with episodes 56 and 57, you've done the thinking work. You've wrestled with the big questions. You've considered addendums. And now it's time to finalize your documents.
Hi, welcome to Thoughtful Planning. I'm Honey.
And I'm Santiago.
We're here to help you navigate end-of-life planning without feeling overwhelmed.
But before we get started, the quick disclaimer. This episode is for educational purpose only. We're not attorneys, financial advisors, or medical professionals. We're going to focus today on Texas laws. So if you live in another state, please research the laws where you live. And if your situation is really complicated, we recommend consulting an estate attorney.
So here's our essential question for today. How do you turn your medical treatment preferences into a legally valid living will?
Great question, hon. So keep that question in mind as we walk through this together, and we'll circle back to it in the end.
Before we get into the form itself, I want to remind you of what you've already accomplished if you've been following along with this series.
So in episode 56, we worked through the Emory Critical Conditions Planning Guide. You thought about what quality of life means to you. You've considered different medical scenarios and how you want to be treated in the end.
And in episode 57, we talked about addendums, those extra documents that can help your family and medical team understand your wishes in situations that aren't black and white.
So if you've done the pre-work, filling out the actual forms are going to be pretty simple. Most of the questions that we talked about are on the form, so you've already answered them.
And if you haven't done that prep work yet, that's okay. You can still listen to this episode to understand the process. But we do recommend going back to episodes 56 and 57 first. It'll make everything easier.
Yep. And maybe looking at this one first, so you'll have some clarity of the questions that you need to answer. All right. So let's talk about how to actually get to the living will form here in Texas. And we're going to share two options with you today.
So option one is to go directly to the Texas Health and Human Services website. We'll put the link in the show notes, but you can search for Texas Advanced Directives and find it. The form is called the Directive to Physicians in Family or Surrogates, and it's available in English and Spanish.
And this is a pretty straightforward PDF form. You download it, you print it, you fill it out. Very simple.
And option two, this is what I actually recommend, is to use the eFileTexas self-help website. And we'll put the direct link in our show notes.
Yeah, what's nice about the eFileTexas site for those that live in Texas is it walks you through completing the form step by step. It asks you questions as you go along. It explains the terminology to you. It gives you extra information to help you understand exactly what you're agreeing to.
And it provides resources if you want to talk to an attorney. So if you're someone who likes a little more hand-holding through the process, this is a great option.
Yeah. So the eFileTexas site also lets you create a lot of other documents like the durable power of attorney, the medical power of attorney, the HIPAA authorization form. So when we get to those episodes, you'll already be pretty familiar with the process.
So today, though, we're going to walk you through what to expect when you use the eFileTexas site for the living will.
So the first thing you're going to do, like many websites, is you're going to create a logon. Then you'll see an introduction explaining different forms that you can complete on the website. But for today, we're going to be focused on the living will, which is an advanced directive to physicians is what it's called.
So after the introduction, you'll see a disclaimer screen to review. Then there's a warning screen reminding you to choose someone you trust. Then you'll see what information you need to complete the form, and then some tips on how to use the system.
Yeah. So once you get through those screens, again, the screens, make sure you read them from top to bottom. You'll choose the form you want to complete. Make sure you select Advanced Directive to Physicians on the site. Then it goes over some additional important terms for that form.
And then next, you'll enter your name and address, and it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, then the form will ask you if you've signed an advance directive to physicians in the past, and what do you want to do with that? If you say yes, it'll give you some instructions on how to handle that old form.
Now we get to the important questions, and this is where all your work from episodes 56 and 57 will pay off.
So, question number 1. It asks, if you're suffering from a terminal condition, do you want to be kept on life support machines?
And question 2, if you're suffering from an irreversible condition, do you want to be kept on life support machines?
So the form gives you some more information to help you understand all of the terms we just went over. But if you work through the Emory Guide, you've already should have a deep understanding about these scenarios we just went over.
Right. You've already decided what quality of life means to you. You've already considered what you would and would not want. So when you see these questions on the form, you're not starting from scratch. You're just documenting decisions you've already made.
Yeah. So next, the form is going to ask you about naming an advocate, which is a person that's going to act as your healthcare agent. Now, this is where you have two different options, or the forms give you two different options.
So if you're using the PDF from the Texas Health and Human Services website, you can skip the agent section for now.
Yeah. So if you haven't decided, you can just skip over the question because it's a form in front of you. But if you're using the eFileTexas site, it makes naming an agent mandatory before you can go to the next step.
So what to do if you're on eFileTexas and you don't know who your person is yet, because we told you we were going to go deeper into that when we work on the medical power of attorney. What can you do?
So you can put a placeholder in there for now. We're going to do that whole episode on medical power of attorneys. So this is where we walk you through how to choose an agent and how to have that conversation with them. And so really don't stress about this. Like for us, I'm her agent, she's my agent. That's pretty straightforward. But if you have a different living situation, that might be a bit more difficult.
So for some people, even though you might be married, your spouse may not be who you'd want to choose for your agent. So again, if you're not sure yet, don't worry. We're going to talk about it in the medical power of attorney episode. But if you already know who your person is, if you know in your heart this is who you trust, you can fill that in now. And again, if you're not sure, use a placeholder by putting your own name there and come back to it later.
Yep. So after those two main questions, there's a section called Additional Request. This is where you can add extra instructions to the form.
And how you fill this out depends on whether you created addendums in episode 57.
Yeah. So if you don't have addendums, you can write your preferences directly in this sections. It might be something like, I want to be treated for curable illnesses and conditions. I want to be treated for pain and anxiety, even if the treatment may speed up my death. I want to donate my organs.
But if you created addendums, you don't need to repeat everything here. Instead, you can reference them, because a lot of those things that Santiago just mentioned, those are mentioned in those documents.
Yeah. So you can put something like, please see the addendum document titled Personal Values and Care Preferences. This document is intended to guide my physicians, my family, and my medical decision makers in interpreting and applying this directive.
And remember, the directive is the legal document, which is your living will. The addendum is there to help people understand how to honor it when situations aren't black and white.
Yeah. So if you're attaching addendums, each one should have a header that identifies it as an addendum to your directives to physicians. It includes a title, a state. That means that they can be read together with your directives, and notes that if there is any inconsistencies, the directive stands as a control.
So we covered all of this in episode 57, and we'll include the addendum formatting information in our show notes so you can reference it there also.
Yeah. So next, the eFileTexas site will ask you if you want to talk to a lawyer, and they will actually give you some contact information for lawyers.
They list several options. You can contact the State Bar of Texas, Lawyer Referral Service. You can visit texaslawhelp.org for a legal aid directory. They have a chat feature. They list walk-in legal aid clinics and legal hotlines through the Texas State Library.
So we'll put all these resources within our show notes. And remember, if your situation is more complicated, like you have significant assets, a blended family, complex medical situations, talking to an estate attorney is probably a good idea.
But for many people, especially those in a tight budget, the state forms are enough to get you started. The barrier shouldn't be money. Everyone deserves to have their wishes documented.
Exactly. All right. Once you filled out the form, you need to sign it properly.
Texas law says you can have either 2 witnesses or a notary public.
But when Honey was taking her doula classes, they said it's a pretty good idea to do both. Have 2 witnesses and get it notarized.
And here's how this works. You, your witnesses, and the notary are all together. The notary will direct everyone when to sign. You don't sign ahead of time. You wait for the notary to tell you when.
Yep. So now, where do we find a notary?
There's lots of places. Some banks might offer free notary services if you're a customer. Some shipping stores and office supply stores might also have notaries.
So here's another tip. Check with your county. For example, where we live, Kendall County, they offer free notarization if you live in the county. Your county might do that also. And if you live in Texas, there's actually a Find Texas Notary site on the main site. You click it, put your zip code in, and it gives you a list of names that you can go to.
You can also ask in your neighborhood. If you have a neighborhood Facebook group or Nextdoor app, ask if anyone is a notary. You might have one right down the street and they might charge a small fee, but it's usually pretty affordable.
Yeah. So just remember, don't sign anything until the notary tells you to do so. They actually need to witness you signing the document.
And once your living will is signed and notarized, you need to store it somewhere safe and accessible.
Yeah, this is really important because if a document that nobody can get to, nobody can find, it's really not helpful for you when somebody needs it.
And give copies to your healthcare agent, your doctor, and family members who would be involved in medical decisions. Keep the original somewhere people can actually get to in an emergency. A lock-safe deposit box that nobody can access is not helpful.
Not at all. Some people keep a card in their wallet that says that they have an advance directive and where to find it.
And here's a tip. Keep a log or inventory of everyone who has a copy. That way, if you ever make changes to your document, you know exactly who has old copies and who needs new ones.
Exactly. So we're actually going to do an entire episode on documentation storage, organization, because this applies to all of your important papers. But for now, just knowing that you've created the document is an important first step. Making sure the right people have access to it is step number 2. Ooh, that's a lot. But before we wrap up, I want to say something to anyone who's been putting this off for a bit. If you've done the work in 56 and 57, you've watched it, and you're ready to go, you can probably complete this form in less than 30 minutes, and probably a lot quicker than you think.
That's it. The form itself is not complicated. The complicated part was the thinking part, and you've already done that.
Yeah, you've done that. So that's, you just fill it out, get it notarized, signed, all that good stuff. So don't let this sit around your to-do list for the next 6 months. Set aside an afternoon or an evening. Go to the eFileTexas site or download the PDF. Walk through it step by step and just get it done.
And if you haven't done the prep work yet, that's okay too. Just go back to episodes 56 and 57, work through the Emory guide and consider your addendums. Then come back here. We'll be waiting.
Yep. So let's come back and circle back to that essential question. How do you turn your medical treatment preferences into a legally valid living will?
And here's your answer. You're going to choose your method. You either download the form from the Texas Health and Human Services site or use the eFileTexas site for guided help. Answer the questions about terminal and irreversible conditions based on the thinking you've already done. Add any additional requests or reference your addendums. Find a notary, and we recommend 2 witnesses. And also, with the witnesses, it's possible, like let's say you're going to a store to do the notarization. It could be witnesses there at the store. You don't have to bring the witnesses if you don't have them. So don't let that be a deterrent. Sign it when the notary directs you. And then make sure the right people know where to find it.
Yeah, I think that part's most important in my mind. So that's the process.
So if you found this episode helpful, hit that subscribe button on YouTube or give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform. And if you have any questions or want to share your story, email us at info@legacytoolkit.com.
Oh, and we're going to put all those links that we've talked about for the advanced directive forms, the eFileTexas site in our show notes.
And coming up next, we're going to work on the medical power of attorney. We'll talk about how to choose your healthcare agent and how to have that conversation with them.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit about that before, but we're going to cover it again because it's so important to have the right person. Now, a quick note on timing. You have 2 choices here.
If you use the Texas Health and Human Services PDF and you know who your healthcare agent is, you can get your living will signed and notarized now. You don't have to wait for us to finish the rest of the series.
Yep. But if you used the eFileTexas site and you put your own name as a placeholder because you really don't know who your agent or trusted person is yet, you should wait a bit. Complete the medical POA episode with us first. Figure out who your person is. Then go back and update your living will before printing and signing that document.
And some people might prefer to wait and get all their documents signed at once. That's completely fine too. It'll be a while though before we get through all the episodes on the other documents. And we don't want to hold anyone back who's ready to complete this form now.
Yeah. So, having them signed in your safe place, people know about it. It's probably better to have them now than not. So really the point is do what works for you. You know you. There's really no wrong answer as long as you complete the documents.
Remember, every chapter you write today shapes your legacy tomorrow. Thank you for joining us on Thoughtful Planning.